Hi there, Tad Hargrave today. And here's a question I got that I've been waiting to answer for a month or so. It's been in my notes, which is, what do you do if you're being manipulated? What do you if you're on the receiving end of it? Let's say you know the person offers a good service, they make good products, but they've been getting bad marketing advice, and you can feel them trying to shoehorn you into a kind of, they're manipulating you to try to get you to say yes, and using all the tactics that you wish they wouldn't use. What do you do? So this is from Clea Rollins. So Clea, thank you so much for the question. Well, actually, I found myself in this. I think I made a little video about it or mentioned it in a video before, but there was a woman who reached out to me. She said, hey, I've been following your work and I think I can help you make a lot of money on Facebook with Facebook ads. I said, well, sure. Okay, let's talk. And when we talked, she took me through the kind of generic, what you call it, strategy call, So where are you now? What's the problem? Where would you like to be? Well, let's look at what's in the gap. Pitch, here's how I can help. And it was so transparent. But I liked her. I really liked her. She was actually pretty lovely. And it was just terrible. So I was just kind of like laughing the whole time. I'm not laughing, but I was like, this is amazing how transparent it is. It reminds me of a dating coach who once told me, he said, Ted, a lot of times, he worked with men in particular, so a lot of times women go out with you in spite of your efforts. Like that. You think you're working on your game and you're getting real good with women, and women are like, oh, so sweet. He's trying so hard. and isn't that true with marketing? Boy, we can see that people are hustling so hard, but we already wanted to work with them. And sometimes in spite of their efforts, we choose to work with them. So in this case, I actually decided, I didn't mention it to her. She was kind of young. She was so earnest about it. And it wasn't a fit in the end. Just, I didn't think the offer was particularly good. But if I had, I probably would have talked to her. If not, I don't know if I would have. But so one, there's my experience, but there's some other thoughts. If you find yourself in that, you can just do it kind of like, can we just time out? My intention in this conversation is just to see if this is a fit or not. And I don't know if it is, and I imagine there'd be ways maybe I'm not a fit for you. Maybe it would be helpful for me to know, who's your ideal client? Who do you most like to work with? Who's the best fit for you? What would be the bullseye for you? Because I don't know if I'm that. And if not, maybe I would know someone who is. So you can keep bringing the attention back to that. Like, let's just focus on the truth of if this is a fit or not. And I would say if they keep persisting, you could just say, look, time out. This isn't feeling good to me. I get the sense you're using kind of sales tactics on me, or maybe something you got taught somewhere. And I'm open to exploring working with you, but I'm really not open to being put through a process, of a series of steps to get me to a place where I realize it's a fit in the end. I really would like to see if it is a fit, but I'm just not feeling comfortable in this conversation. It feels off. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I feel like I'm being maneuvered by you in some way. Would you be willing, could we try this a different way? Something like this. And I'll say this though. If you name it, people sometimes get very defensive about it. Of course, because it's so confronting, it's embarrassing, it's humiliating, it's a very exposing moment for people. I had some colleagues who I endorsed them to do a workshop in Winnipeg, and they really screwed up because they used these high pressure tactics right at the end of their presentation. It had gone really well, and then they tried to pressure the audience, and people were pissed, and it poisoned my reputation in Winnipeg from that moment on, so I was upset with them. We got on a call, and I pointed out why I was upset, but they wouldn't let go. They was like, no, that's what you have to do. These are the techniques you have to use. They were so committed to that. And so you could still work with them. I decided not to continue to work with these colleagues because I never wanted to submit my clients to this. And these are things to think about. If you end up working with this person, it'll be very difficult to refer them to other people because of what they're, anyone you send to them, they're going to put through the same rigmarole as they did you. And also, if they're not willing to talk about that, then I don't know how much would trust them because oh, hey, I've got another level of offering and I think you really need it. You're just going to have to be on guard all the time. I think at a certain point that conversation has to happen. There has to be the timeout. Can we just pause this conversation and look at it from the outside, or talk about the conversation we're having, or change gears in some way, change direction? But it's interesting because I think it's actually the same thing we can do if we're the one selling. There's a certain point where you can get the sense that somebody thinks you're pushing them, even if you're not. That can really happen. They just see you as a salesperson and then they just get defensive. It triggers bad experiences they had, and now they're reacting to those experiences, not to you. And you can do the same thing. You can say, look, time out. Can we just time out for a second? I get the feeling you're, I'm just not trying to sell you. I'm not trying to convince you to work with me, really. I'm just trying to get to the truth of if this is a fit. And if it's not a fit, I'll be so happy to refer you to somebody else. I just wanted to reestablish my intention. I imagine your intention is to figure out if it's a fit too. If that's mine. I don't work with everybody. Would you be willing to have that conversation? I'm not trying to get you to say yes here. I know it's totally okay. Sometimes we have to take the pressure out of it, even on the other side. And sometimes you'll have clients trying to convince you to work with them, trying to sell you, even though it's not a good fit. And then still we need to time out. So you can see this time out thing I keep doing is just because I think it's important to just pause the conversation, to just we have to stop this, whatever is happening here. And sometimes I've just left. It depends how much ballast you feel like you have in the moment, how strong you feel. But here's what I'll say. Of course, there's no obligation to give people feedback on their pushy marketing stuff, but we all made mistakes. We're all learning. And so I'll say this, it's an incredible gift to give people that honest feedback. I think most of us wish people would have given us feedback instead of just vanishing and disappearing in our lives. We've probably all had that. So whether it's an email afterwards, if that feels more comfortable, if you can do it in the moment, I can't always, I know. Sometimes I feel too uncomfortable or just a little too ungrounded. But that's something you could also, hey, can we just time out? I just need to stop this conversation right now. Let me send you an email. I just need to stop. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Click. It's okay. You don't need to continue a conversation that doesn't feel good. And if you send them an email, maybe it'll wake them up to what they're doing, maybe not, but it'll at least plant the seed. And if everyone did it, if we all gave that kind of feedback when things didn't feel good, it's much more likely it would change. If we all stay silent about it, we're all just consenting to it, we're all just saying it's okay if it continues. So I don't think we have an obligation to that person to say anything. I do think we have an obligation to the wider community to speak up and to say something. And maybe it's too much for you to speak up for various reasons. So you might be able to have a friend do it for you, to go and say, hey, you were talking to this person the other day and I just wanted to, they felt too nervous or insecure to talk about it or a little scared. And so I just wanted to give you the feedback. Sometimes that's the best way to do it. We can triangulate for each other because it's too confronting for you to do it. And sometimes it's hard for them to hear it directly from the person, but if they hear it from somebody, maybe you know somebody who knows that person, and you can just call them up, say, look, I had a weird experience with your friend, and would you be willing to give them that feedback? They seem like a good person, they seem to do good work, but oh man, it felt so awful. Could you just let them know? It's no hard feelings necessarily, but it felt bad. And they say, oh, okay, great, yeah, sure. And then they can pass on the feedback. Most of the time people just vanish and go away. That's what happens. There's usually ghosting. I mean, with this woman, I did it myself, so I'm not perfect on this. Although she's somebody I actually have imagined, I could imagine reaching out to. And at that point, I probably would have the conversation. And it wasn't so egregious. It wasn't, I didn't feel threatened in any way. Or I could just see what it was. I could see the format. And I didn't have quite the energy to invest in, another, what do I tell her? And then, of course, you can direct them to other resources. You know, there's me, there's Ari Galper, there's Mark Silver, there's George Cow, Rebecca Tracy, there's all Julie Wolk. There's lots of people out there, and you probably have your own too. You have your own list of people. But that isn't a bad idea to say, look, I think you may have been learning sales and from a certain angle, and I just need you to know that process. I've seen it before. I've been on the receiving end of it before, and it just doesn't feel good to me. I don't think it feels good to people. I don't know, maybe it doesn't even feel good to you, but there's some other resources I think you might like that it could help you have these conversations in a way that would really feel good. And anyways, good luck with your business. You know, I wish you well. Just that. So those are some of my thoughts on that question. It's just uncomfortable. Boy, I've just been there so many. As I speak more and more, I'm remembering more and more stories about times where I felt really genuinely manipulated by people and worked by all the techniques, and it was really hard. It was really unsettling because you don't always notice it in the moment. Sometimes it's afterwards. You say, "Oh my God, I got worked. That was some straight up seduction and predation that was happening." So you can't always see it in the moment, but if you can see it later and give feedback, either directly or indirectly, what a gift to the person and what a gift to the community. Yeah, if we can do it. We won't always be able to. So hopefully that's helpful. Longer video than I was intending to do on this. If you like this video, please share it. You know, you may be in Facebook groups where this kind of thing would be useful. You might have a friend or a colleague you could forward it to. You can click subscribe and then the little bell icon to be notified when I post more videos. Marketingforhippies.com is my website, and of course I'm on Facebook as well. Leave any comments, questions below, and maybe it'll turn into a video like this that I do. Take care.